What's up everyone, how's it going? Since there has not been much news lately for Battlefront 2, we're not really too sure what's going on behind the scenes. I thought it'd be fun to do a Q&A video, as the last time I did one was like well over a year ago. And so I just thought it would be fun to do just a question and answers basically on stuff about Star Wars and then Battlefront 2 and then any other subject as well that you guys want to ask me. But let's get started with the first one. That actually comes from my good friend Torbus, and he says, "Hello, my name is Torbus. How are you? I am doing good. How are you?" The next one comes from also another good friend, Scout the Trooper. He asked me what my favorite food is, and pretty much anything that has Alfredo and fettuccine in it, I will eat. And then on this subject, Stefanos Tuber asked me what my favorite drink is, and I gotta go with water on that. Everything else sucks. But next up is onto Generic, and he asked me if I am real. No, I am not, sorry. And then he also says, what are your thoughts on the future of Battlefront 2? Will there be a 3? How soon? Etc. So, I kind of made a video talking about what I feel currently about Battlefront 2 and the state it's in. I do believe that the end is coming soon, as do a lot of other people. And I gave my reasons. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen the video. If not, be sure and check it out after this one, of course. But as for a Battlefront 3, that is a video that I am currently working on. I am trying to get like my main points down and get it into a nice like 10-minute video on why I think a Battlefront 3 should happen and if I think it will happen or not, and then when and stuff. So stay tuned for that. But then next up, Hamerica actually says, which hero roster would you want for a Battlefront 3? So on this subject, I would love to see all of the characters that are currently in Battlefront 2 ported over. Obviously with like updated animations, maybe even updated abilities. There's a lot of heroes I think could use some more unique abilities, which is also another video that I am planning on doing at some point. But yeah, basically if they did make a Battlefront 3 and some main heroes like Rey or Obi-Wan or Anakin are missing, that would definitely be very disappointing. So yeah, basically just take all the main characters from this game, port them over, you know, characters like Iden or even Phasma. If those are left out, I would be completely fine with that. But basically just the main heroes that, you know, pretty much everyone uses. And then Boba RC says, have I ever played Republic Commando? And if so, what are my thoughts on it? And yes, it was one of the first Star Wars games I played back in 2005, I think it was released. I was really young, so I don't really remember too much about it, but I do remember me and my brother would always play the multiplayer mode, which was pretty cool. But I do enjoy it. It's a fun game. I believe there's a graphics mod for the PC version out that you can enhance the game and make it full 1080p true resolution, so you can replay it and have basically, it looks a lot more modern than how it looked on the original Xbox. And then next up, Sir Skywalker asked me that since there is only 3 heroes on each sequel trilogy side, who would I like to add? And this is a simple one. I would love to see General Pride and then Poe Dameron as a ground hero. I really like Pride in The Rise of Skywalker. Even though he didn't get too much screen time, he was still a really fun character, and I would love to see more of him, especially in Battlefront 2. I loved whenever he just immediately killed Hux the second he thought he was a spy. I thought that was hilarious, and just makes him a lot more of a cooler enemy character. Next up comes from the Idiot Jedi. This is a controversial one, I know for sure. He asked me, what do I like more, the prequel or sequel trilogy? And, I mean, it's hard to compare them because they're two completely different eras, obviously. I love them both for a lot of different reasons, and then some reasons that are the same, so I just don't think it'd be fair to compare them or say which one I like more. Because right now, with The Rise of Skywalker coming out, I've been really invested into the sequel trilogy a lot more than the prequels, obviously, because the prequels last came out in 2005. But at the same time, I absolutely love the Clone Wars. You know, it is the Star Wars that I grew up on, so it will probably always remain my favorite. Okay, and then Diverse Pizza Boy asked me if I get to add a certain skin for a trooper that has not been added or seen yet in Battlefront 2, which one would I want? And then he also said, keep up the good work and stay safe. You too, and thank you. So, probably the skin that I would love to see, even though it's not canon, is the old Mace Windu battalion. They were just basically Coruscant guards with purple markings instead of red. I really like the look of them. Someone actually made a mod and it was really fun to use. So I know it's a simple one, but purple is my favorite color, so I would love to see that come back to canon. Next up, Trenza asks a really good question. He says, if I could have one last thing in Battlefront 2 before the end of support, what would I choose? And honestly, if I could choose one thing, it would probably be a Lando Millennium Falcon. No, I'm just kidding. It'd probably be Coruscant or Mustafar as a map. I love the heroes in this game, and I don't really see any more coming, but I just think maps are the way to go. So I think having either one of those two would be really awesome to see, and I don't care which one they decided on. TK6072 asks me what my political stances are on the Klenko rights movement, and I agree, Joyd rights, so there you go. Freedom Chad asks me if I could see any Legends material referenced in Battlefront 2, what would you want? So I don't know what you mean by referenced, or maybe do you mean added into the game? I'm going to go with added into the game. Probably Darth Revan. I just think he's a cool character and he just looks cool. He's like the cooler looking Kylo Ren, as cool as Kylo Ren looks. I like his purple lightsaber, so probably just that. But now that I think about it, he is actually canon now after the Rise of Skywalker, so I don't know. We'll just go back to the Purple Clone Legion Battalion for Mace Windu. RT43 asks me what my best kill streak is, and I think it was with Grievous or Maul. It was either 60 to 80 kills. It was all on Kashyyyk, I know that, but I just can't remember exactly what it was. And then Sergeant Goat asks a really unique question. He says, if I could have one planet that has not been in any previous Battlefront game, what would it be? And honestly, I have no idea, because pretty much every single canon planet, at least for the most part, has been in a Battlefront game. So just coming from the Rise of Skywalker, I would say Exegol would be a really fun map. They could have all the Star Destroyers and you can fight on top of those, and then also fight on the ground. That'd be pretty cool to see, but probably won't happen as it doesn't really match any game mode. And then Enemy Aiden Smith says, level Palps yet, Trader? And no, I have not. I'm still level 1 with him. I believe I've gotten 2600 XP total with him. I'll put it up on the screen, something like that. And then ET Stream 90 asks me what my favorite non-Star Wars game is. And lately I've been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto 5. I know that's a really old game, but it's just a fun game to drive around and then fly in helicopters. That's pretty much all I do. You know, there's nothing else to do really in online. But it is just a nice game to play whenever you're just bored. And then I also have been enjoying Modern Warfare lately. And then JS actually asked me a question about Battlefront 2015. So basically he feels like it is just so much different compared to Battlefront 2, which I do agree with. And then he says it just looks and feels and sounds better in his opinion, and is curious on my thoughts on it. So I agree with some of this. I definitely do think that the looks of the blaster bolts and the sound of the explosion and all the lightsabers and everything, those look a lot better and sound better than in Battlefront 2 for whatever reason. As for the looks of the characters and stuff, I disagree. Now, I do think that the maps look pretty spot on, but I think the maps are pretty equal to the looks of Battlefront 2. I think those are pretty equal. But yeah, in terms of the sounds and stuff, I do think that they did kind of downgrade a little bit. Especially because the blaster bolts just look like almost really desaturated. It looks like they took the boldness away from them and they're not as thick anymore. So I don't know. I feel like they should look into that. There is some mods on PC that improve them, but at the same time, it's just not the same as Battlefront 2015. I have seen some people say that the reason that is because the blaster bolts in the previous Battlefront game were a lot slower. And yes, they were, but the new ones just don't look good at all, no matter what you do. And then next up, Alex Dunn asks another question about Battlefront 3. He says he doesn't know if he's late, but would I like to see DICE finish this update, then focus all things on Battlefront 3, or would I like them to continue support on Battlefront 2? So I'm probably not going to answer this one because, like I said earlier, I am planning a video on the Battlefront 3 and just giving my thoughts on it, on what I would like to see and when I would like to see. But to make a short answer, basically yes on both terms. I would love to see this update finished, obviously. But I do think if a Battlefront 3 is in the works, I don't think the current team is working on it. I think they have a separate team right now working on it. You know, perhaps Ben Walk is the producer on that. That would be pretty cool to see. But we just don't really know. So I do think that the live service is completely separated from a team that is working on a brand new project. So I don't think, you know, they would obviously move them over once Battlefront 2 support ends. But hypothetically, if a Battlefront 3 is in the works, I do believe that it is a separate team currently working on it. And then, I can't pronounce his name, but he asks me, what about the droid attack on the Wookiees, whatever old joke. He says the real question is, if I could make a TV series or movie in the Star Wars universe, what era would it be in? And I'm going to split this one up into two different parts. So if I could make a TV series, I would love to see a live action Clone Wars show. I just think that's something that would be awesome. Obviously, the budget just isn't realistic because of how the prequels were made. That would cost a ton of money to create, so they ended up doing an animated one. But if I could do another trilogy or whatever, I would probably set it in the Old Republic, because I just want to see more of that in live action. I think it is an opportunity that they are going to take. Kathleen Kennedy actually already said in an interview probably like 5 months ago that they are actually having some plans for the Old Republic stuff. And then, of course, Revan was mentioned with the Sith guards and all that, and the new Rise of Skywalker novel and all that. So they are starting to hint at stuff like that, so I'm sure that we'll see that sometime in the future. And then finally, Henry asks me what I like most about the Rise of Skywalker. And obviously there's a lot. You guys know I really like the movie. You know, we all have our own opinions on it. But I think the thing I liked the most was the ending. Obviously, the very end where Rey gets her new lightsaber and calls herself a Skywalker. I did enjoy that part, you know, despite it being a controversial opinion. I did really like that. It made sense to me, honestly. But then the end battle was also really awesome as well. I love the whole dyad and the Force thing. I think it really connected everything together. But my favorite scene in all of the sequel trilogy is whenever all the Jedi give Rey power to kill the Palpatine. So I think that was just amazing and a good way to tie everything together. You know, I had said this before, that if Rey just kills Palpatine by herself and has no help, I wouldn't really like that. I think that didn't make sense. But the fact that Palpatine basically just killed her, and then all the Jedi came together to give her power in whatever way, just Force power, and then she was able to stop them with all that help. And then right after she did die, and then Ben Solo came back and sacrificed himself to save her. I just thought it was a really good way to end the saga, and I was pretty happy with it personally. But that is going to do it for these questions, guys. I want to start doing this probably like once a month or so, because, you know, new topics come up every month when it comes to Star Wars. But thank you all for all the questions, and I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, be sure and leave a like on it, as it really helps out the channel. And if you're new, subscribe for more Star Wars news, gameplay, and more. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one.